This video is called 5 Questions for Inmendham, and before I get to the 5 questions, I did watch your latest video to me, Inmendham, Fakey Cutting Pieces of Tyranny Cakey Part 3, and I want to apologize for the misconceptions that I had about you, like that I thought you had an engineering degree, and I thought you might have $1 million. Not that I really thought it was stashed in a room in your house, but you said yourself in your video that if you did have millions of dollars, we shouldn't expect to see a big upgrade in your lifestyle. And I already knew that, Gary. I knew that if you did have $1 million, your roof would still have holes in it. And that's why I assumed that you might have $1 million. But if you don't, you don't. So I apologize for those misconceptions. But I've got 5 questions that I want to ask you, and you don't have to answer these. You don't have to make a response at all. I mean, you're going to do what you're going to do. I'm taking a shot. I'm going to ask. Either you will answer or you won't answer. So the first one is, in your video, you said that you were going to go to college, but you had a nervous breakdown that lasted 40 years. Now, I think I've heard you talk a little bit about that nervous breakdown in the past, but that was years and years ago, and I was wondering if you could go into some more detail about that and talk about what might have brought that nervous breakdown on, what the nature of it was, and just kind of tell the story of that nervous breakdown that you had 40 years ago. That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, do you continuously have these nervous breakdowns? Have you had any since, and do you have panic attacks? And to define our terms here, if a thought that goes through your mind causes your pulse to quicken and your fight or flight response to kick in, so you feel an appreciable raise in adrenaline, then that counts as a panic attack. That's question 2. Question 3. So you spend a lot of time talking about how much life sucks and how horrible of a place the world is that's unfit to live in. And, logic dictates that you can't be thinking those kinds of thoughts 100% of the time, because the stuff of life gets in the way. Like, for example, if you're driving and some guy cuts you off and you have to think about how you're going to steer your vehicle to avert a collision. Your mind is too busy to think about how human beings misallocate resources, and how religion is just the opiate of the masses that makes us more easily manipulable by politicians and so forth. Let's say you're in the supermarket deciding what you're going to buy to make for dinner. Well, then your mind is occupied with that thought instead, so you can't be thinking about what's wrong with the world and how much life sucks at that particular moment. So what question 3 has to do with is what percentage of your time would you say that you spend thinking about the kinds of things you talk about in your YouTube videos, namely how much life sucks and how bad of a place the world is? Would you say that it's 90% of your day, your waking hours? Would you say that it's 50%? Would you say that it's 10%? That's question 3. Question 4 is, how many real-world interactions with people do you have on the average day? And to define our terms, a real-world interaction is one in which a seasonal flu virus could be transmitted. A text message doesn't count, an email doesn't count, a phone conversation doesn't count, internet exchange of any type does not count. This has to be a real interaction with a human being in flesh space. It doesn't have to be a protracted conversation or anything like that. It can be as simple as saying thanks when the girl at the checkout counter at the supermarket hands you your receipt. But question number 4 is, how many real-world interactions with people do you have on the average day? And question number 5, the final question, is, when was the last time that you did something that made someone feel good? Now, I'm not asking you to be an empath or a psychic and get inside somebody's head and know whether they felt good or not. But when was the last time you did something that you think, that you reasonably suspect made somebody else happy or made somebody feel good? And it doesn't have to be profound. This could be something as simple as telling the girl at the checkout counter at the supermarket that her hair looks nice and she smiles for a second. Something simple. But question number 5 is when was the last time you did something that you think made somebody else feel good? So I'm eagerly awaiting your response to these questions if you decide to answer them.